My name is Chase McPherson. I'm good at what I do when it comes to my main career, but as for anything else I try, I feel like I'm a constant failure. This is What Do You Want From Me, the podcast all about me, but directed by you. You tell me what aspects of my life you want to hear about, and I attempt to entertain you for a short while. At least, that's the intention. Last week, I did not put up a poll. The reason for that is I've only gotten on average 4 votes on previous polls. This time, I just wanted anyone, to suggest a topic without my prompting with a series of predetermined selections. There was one retweet of the request that was not mine, but no replies. I spent the whole of the last week checking numbers on the last episode, about half the average number of listens or downloads, and no other notifications on the What Do You Want Cast Twitter account, save for that one retweet. It's contributed to my latest mental health tailspin, triggering memories of my last project, which died a similar lonely death, as well as the loss of what was then my dream job. This is episode 7. Fear of failure. Four years ago, give or take a week, I lost my job working as a digital content producer at a TV station in Alabama. Actually, at the time, my title was Digital Content Director. I had just been given the promotion. It was a supervisory and managerial role, and I screwed it up. Royally. I won't go into the specifics. But the day I lost my job, they waited until the end of the day to tell me. That morning, my general manager approved my request for a vacation so I could buy the plane tickets and reserve the hotel room I'd planned for a birthday week vacation to Boston. Around mid-afternoon, my access to corporate email and other electronic items was shut off. But for about 3 hours, I was under the misapprehension that it was just an outage. I even spoke to one of my own supervisors about it, and they let me believe that's what was going on. But by 5 o'clock, I was called into the manager's office, and only then was I told that I was fired. If you've ever been hit with the realization something bad is going on, but at a huge delay, you may have felt an icy, bracing chill hit you, the kind that makes the hairs on your arms stand on end. If you're standing up, you may feel a sudden dizziness that makes you spend the rest of the 20-minute severance meeting leaning against a wall. At least that's how it happened with me. Until that day, I was certain I could do anything I wanted with enough determination and application. That day, the rug was pulled out from under me, and I spent 4 years feeling as if I was falling into a bottomless chasm. It didn't take very long to find a new job, 2 months actually, but it required a sudden move from Alabama back to Texas. So I had to uproot myself and my husband, which meant he, too, had to then find a brand new job in the new city. Guilt now attached itself to feelings of inadequacy as I began my new job, which was only on a temporary basis. And then, a few months later, that job fell through, when the long-term opening I was promised was no longer on offer. I won't go into the other job I took on during this time. It's more convoluted and involves family. What I will say is that I felt miserable. Like in the lyrics of a Sean Colvin song I know by heart, called One Small Year. Now through the night I can pretend the morning will make me whole again, and every day I can begin to wait for the night again. Virtually every day I put in more applications at other TV stations. Every day for almost 4 years. Very few ever replied. The ones that did set up interviews. I had those interviews. I thought I nailed them. And then I never heard from them again. One station actually flew me out to them from Texas to Florida for a 2-day interview. Then I went home, and I never heard anything from them. Each week that went by with no answer or no offer hit my psyche, reinforcing the thought that I was a failure. In mid-2019, with seemingly no hope left as far as television work was concerned, I thought about my husband and his love for tabletop role-playing games, TTRPGs as they're called, Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. I knew there were thousands of people who were creating their own merchandise for sale and needed help getting their voice put out there. I decided to start a news website for that purpose. I called it the D20 News Network, D20 being the 20-sided die used in many of these types of games. I thought that along with these product announcements, I could mix in fabricated news stories about battles that went on in people's games, some of my own material, and also some real investigative pieces, things like consumer complaints. I launched D20NN in earnest in October 2019 with plans for video material to accompany the site with its own accompanying YouTube channel. The buzz started off very encouragingly, and I managed to record some really good interviews with people ranging from game creators to actors starring in real projects that would interest this type of audience. But about a year later, attention began to wane and wane and wane. Videos progressively received fewer and fewer views. Tweets got less and less reach. It very much felt like I was speaking into a void. Then, in late March 2020, with the COVID pandemic just beginning, I got the call from one of the random TV stations I started throwing applications at. A few short interviews later, I had the job offer. And after discussing with Tyler, we agreed we would yet again uproot ourselves and rush across several states to get my chosen career back on track. This ultimately meant closing up D20NN. Had there been continued and growing audience for it, I would have tried harder to keep it going. But with fewer tweets, receiving replies, retweets, any kind of engagement, it just made it so simple to say, that's it. It feels as though I'm running into the same issues here with this podcast. This was only the first time that I had no engagement, but it feels disheartening enough to see it as the start of another downward trend, another dip into failure. I want success in whatever I do, but perhaps I want too much for it to be an instant success. Maybe 1 year was not enough to persist and see if I could have retained attention and grown an audience with D20. 3 months into doing this podcast is probably nowhere near enough time. Again, this was just the first time I had no interaction with the Twitter request for topics. Maybe I am afraid of failure. Maybe I'm afraid of not being considered an interesting enough person. But I'm telling myself I need to keep going with this. I need to give it a longer chance. I don't want to be that type that always quits at the first hurdle. And I really hope you stay with me on this. Since I mentioned at the top that there was a mental health tailspin involved, I want to tell you, yes, I am speaking with a professional about these things. Even though this show is supposed to be a form of therapy for me, if its performance is causing me strain, then I need some support on the side. Rest assured, I am working on things. That does it for this edition of What Do You Want From Me? I would ask, you can listen to all past episodes on the web at whatdoyouwantfromme.com. Please do that. Please do also reach out to me on Twitter. The show's account is What Do You Want Cast, that's the letter U, not the word, and my own handle is by Chase McPhee. The following week, after a podcast is released, I will post a poll with options for the next episode. Please vote on that. And if you have an idea of your own topic, please do reach out with me. I'm always listening for what you want me to talk about next. Until next time, folks, I'm Chase McPherson. I know I'm never truly alone in person or virtually. I hope you know that you're not either. Be well.
A production of D20NN Studios.